worried when a Donald Trump is seen to court Pakistan, for example? Or Pakistan is seen to court Donald Trump, to put it more accurately. Should we be worried that this severely affects our strategic interests when he goes around the world and says, I brokered the ceasefire between India and Pakistan after Operation Sindoor? Or should we just treat it as background noise of someone, as you said, the idiosyncrasies of Donald Trump?
Look, I think that there is, I look at it at two levels. One, yeah, look at the idiosyncrasies. And, you know, frankly, Vajpayee would often have some formula by which he would say, you know, we thank the Americans for their good offices in this matter. There's no reason to also get your back up so much that you absolutely refuse to acknowledge any involvement in the U.S. I think that's also a little bit unnecessary. I understand Modi has political pressures, but, you know, there's a way to have handled that. In the broader sense, yes, it's a worry. But again, because again, why does Trump like Pakistan? Because, as I said, he loves autocrats. And Munir presented himself in exactly the terms that Trump likes. I'm the guy who runs Pakistan. We will do anything you want. I can have you nominated for the Nobel Prize. I can have a crypto council deal done with your son's company. India doesn't operate like that. It's a serious democracy. And so that is a, you know, you could put it as a disadvantage. I would say in the long run, it's a huge advantage that India has. But don't worry, have patience.
Because you say have patience, there are those who say do what the Chinese did, stare him down when he imposes tariffs on you, and eventually Trump has to come to the table and make a truce with China. Should India stare down Donald Trump?
No. Trump has one quality, and he's very intelligent about this. He knows when he has leverage and when he doesn't. So he pushes countries hard when he knows that there's an asymmetry of power. Mm-hmm. And with China, he knew that the Chinese were very powerful. They had things they could withhold, which would tank the U.S. economy. India does not have that power with the U.S. right now. And just making grand speeches about it and bloviating, that's not the right path.
We shouldn't be worried about H-1B visas, the way the MAGA coalition looks at Indian Americans.
You should be worried. There is a sea change taking place in the attitude, not of America, of the MAGA coalition, about Indians in particular. And, you know, that's a separate issue which that has to be dealt with. All I'm saying is, but don't threaten when you don't have the leverage. Right. You know, build up the leverage, and then when you do have cards to play, fine, play them. Don't bluff. He's very good at figuring that out.
So my final part of this is, we're in January of 26 here in Davos. Looks lovely. The sun is out. Will we see tough times in the next 12 months? We're already seeing markets getting more and more volatile, uncertainty in the air. Will we continue to see this uncertainty as long as Donald Trump is in the White House? Do you think anything can check him? The November midterm elections are not too long away in America. Is there any check at all that you see in the near future?
Look, you could imagine checks if he loses both the House and the Senate. Then I think you have a very substantial check that will come into place. The courts may check him. They have checked him in small ways in certain places. You know, what's striking to me is public opinion is not checking him right now. He's quite unpopular. His approval rating is only 39%. I think that the last CNN poll I saw, 58% of Americans thought that his first year had been a failure. On Greenland, 75% of Americans are opposed. Now, Rajdeep, in the last 10 years, we've been very polarized. I can't remember 75% of Americans agreeing on what day it is. So this is very unusual that he's not backing down on issues that are not popular. So I can't promise you that. What I can tell you is, and with markets, you never know. Look, you know, I never make macroeconomic predictions because the economy, particularly the American economy, is a $30-odd trillion beast. There are 5,000 variables going on. You know, AI could be such a game changer that it lifts all boats. Oil might come down so much that it provides another fillip. But I think what you will see is uncertainty, you will see volatility, and you will see around the world people feeling they cannot rely on the United States, that they have to diversify away from it. And that is a huge shift after 80 years of consistent foreign policy. So that does mean we are entering a new world.
He's offering us a place on the board of peace on Gaza, for example, at $1 billion. Is that something that India should look at seriously, this board of peace for Gaza?
I myself don't see how it's going to make much progress. But, you know, if it creates another point of leverage and it creates a point of contact and communication with Trump, it might be worthwhile.
Pay him $1 billion to become a board member. I mean, the very thought of a private board.
I hope the money is going to the people of Gaza, though that has not been clarified. I think if it was pay him $1 billion, of course you shouldn't do it. But if it's toward reconstruction of Gaza, you know, maybe. I mean, God knows they need the money.
Net, therefore, Fareed, as someone who's tracked foreign policy for decades, have you seen a moment quite like this in following it as an academic, as a media person? Have you ever seen times like this? Is this in a way the final rupturing of the post-World War II order? That there was perhaps some belief that it was almost inevitable that someone like Trump would come and say, would rupture it sooner rather than later?
I think this is the big rupture. This is the most dramatic moment I have seen in international relations. It wasn't inevitable. That's the sad thing is, this was a remarkably stable system. You had the richest country in the world with the largest army in the world by far, and that was not seen as threatening to the other richest countries in the world, like Germany and Japan. This is a unique historical phenomenon. It has never happened before, that you have so much power, and yet people aren't threatened by you. They want you to lead. The United States is squandering what was really you know, once in a lifetime opportunity, once in a millennium opportunity, and for what? To get Greenland?
And you might lose jobs as a result. There are signs of the American economy now stuttering. It's done better. It's been more resilient than many thought. But jobs could be lost as well. So all of this could possibly rein in Donald Trump or not.
Look, in the long run, so the problem is a lot of the checks and a lot of the costs of a lot of what Trump is doing, like tariffs. And we know this, again, growing up in India under very high tariffs. It doesn't happen instantly. It happens over time. The economy becomes slightly less productive. Then, and there's more and more corruption because the politics becomes more important, and who you know in Washington to get this exemption and that exemption. You know, all these things add to the complexity and the corruption of the economy. It doesn't happen tomorrow. But what I can say is, look, fundamentally, the United States is 4% of the world's population. It's 25% of the world economy. You have to deal with the rest of the world. I mean, you know, that's 96% of the world and 75% of the world economy that you're alienating.
I look forward to you writing a book on this Trumpian world order, and maybe a chapter looking at what Trump has learned or unlearned from India and the Indian years. But Fareed, pleasure having you here in Davos. I'm told that before you always come a day early so that you can ski. That's the one time, I guess, in these quiet mountains you get away from all the noise of television news, because you never know with Donald Trump what happens the next day.
Completely true, but it's a wonderful way to get over jet lag. And so after doing this, I think this is like my 28th Davos. After about 20 years of doing it, I said to myself, you know, I'm going to get out of the conference room and get onto the ski slopes, and it's proved to be my magic method of curing jet lag.
It's also a magic method of getting over Trumpianism. You can just be away from all the noise. Yes.